I can't believe I'm like having to explain this, but here.
After years of deliberation, both Georgia
what if there was a nuclear war between the U.S. and Russia?
Have officially been accepted as full NATO partners. Ukraine now reinvigorates its push for NATO membership, while Russia has for the last 6 months warned of military action. Alarmed by what it views as encroachment of NATO on its borders, Russia at last responds to the ascension of Bosnia and Herzegovina and Georgia by massing forces on its western border. Russia is gambling that the other NATO nations will reconsider admitting the 2 new members, or at least not be willing to go to war over the defense of brand new members to the alliance. Russia, however, has completely underestimated the solidarity of the alliance, realizing that NATO is in essence a worthless entity unless Article 5 of the treaty is immediately enforced. NATO warns Russia that an attack on one ally is considered an attack on all allies. To reinforce the point, NATO troops are sent into Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the alliance's most vulnerable members given their direct proximity to Russia. Russia, however, sees this as an—
Elon Musk has activated Starlink in fucking Ukraine. I got it. Okay. We are not. This video is from 2 years ago. Yes, I heard. Yes, soy face away, boys. He's
show of force, and the move proves to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Without warning, Russian armor pours into Latvia and Lithuania, linking up with forces in Kaliningrad. World War III has officially begun. For the first month of fighting, Russian forces push as far west as Poland, but the offensive grinds to a halt as NATO members finish mobilizing and their resistance solidifies. With American troops and equipment making landfall in France and Germany, NATO is now launching vicious counterattacks against Russia's forces in Poland. In the Pacific, the American Navy steams towards Russia's eastern coast, bringing with it a Marine Expeditionary Force meant to open a second front in the war and split Russia's forces. Russia is faced with a losing proposition and decides to gamble. It authorizes a single nuclear strike against Berlin, betting that while European NATO members may retaliate with their limited nuclear arsenals, the Americans won't risk the destruction of their cities to support their European allies. The date is now April 12th, 0205 hours Zulu. American and Chinese infrared recon satellites both pick up the telltale fiery plume of an ICBM launch from a missile farm in the south of Russia. 2 minutes later, the American president is awoken from his sleep and given the news. Russia has launched a single nuclear device, unknown payload, likely target in Western Europe. The U.S. Air Force's Global Strike Command has for weeks been flying nuclear alert missions with its fleet of B-52 bombers, maintaining a nuclear-armed force in the air 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as its predecessor, the Strategic Air Command, once did for decades during the Cold War. With the detected launch of a Russian nuclear weapon, a priority flash is immediately dispatched to the airborne forces and alert forces on the ground. Flight crews stationed overseas in Japan, on the west coast of the United States, and in Europe all review their single integrated operational plan, which lays out the exact flight route, refueling track, and targets for each of the bomber crews. Most aircraft have 2 primary targets with 2—
Dude, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. We don't need to see every fucking bomb that blows up in Kiev, dude. Okay? I don't know why Chatter's fucking soy face at the sight of every bomb that is potentially blowing up on a fucking grainy footage on a live camera. It's not relevant, okay?
Loud blast. We had a series of rocket impacts across the skyline. And then
not a fucking movie.
Substantial explosion. We're not quite sure what.
We do need to watch it. We do need to watch it. Yeah. Okay. Well,
time there were persistent shellings, grad explosions here, multiple rocket systems coming in to the east here. The main fear since we arrived that locals have had, and they've been exceptionally tense with sirens going off, is of Russian saboteurs already within this town. Now, in the morning, we drove in to see that a large caliber missile had hit a fuel plant on the outskirts of town. There was a state of panic, frankly. I think you can see a picture of a bridge that had been raised that essentially cuts the city in two. That was a purposeful move by the city's authorities to limit the capacity of forces that may have landed in the east of the city to cross over into the west. There was a lot of concerns here, not only the saboteurs, that possibly during the previous night, Russian forces had even attempted an airdrop into that parts of the city. We heard heard small arms fire at that part of the city as well. Clearly, the tension here ongoing and deep concerns that the dawn might see a push into it. Wolf?
Nick Payton-Walsh, be careful over there. Stay safe. We'll be in touch. The breaking news here continues. The Ukrainian capital of Kiev on heightened alert right now as Vladimir Putin steps up his brutal assault.
Oh my fucking god, dude. And the live stream is down anyway. Okay. Oh, they're in a fucking...
kadarıyla bölgeden gelen canlı görüntüler ajansların geçtiği.
Okay, they're in a shelter. The Turkish team is in a shelter now.
Kiev'de sokağa çıkma yasağı var. Sokakta
Talking about the
sadece
curfew.
güvenlik güçleri var ve onların yine Rus güçleriyle çatışması söz konusu yerin üstünde. Yerin altındaysa insani bir dram söz konusu, trajedi söz konusu. Biliyoruz
human
ki
tragedy
bu sığınaklarda onlar
underneath.
hayata tutunmaya çalışıyorlar.
He's saying that there's a human tragedy beneath the ground with people trying to survive, and there is a clash is happening above the ground. Lord Miles, the Kabul brick guy, is live. Hate that guy, dude. Here you go, dude. The Maidan Square, the fucking bombing and gunfire is becoming more common. It's frustrating that you guys are like want to watch and rewatch every single fucking instance of explosions happening. What is this going to offer you when you send me a clip or when you send footage or something? Just ask yourself, is this relevant to what is going on currently? Does it exclusively have to be... Fuck is that? Okay, that is definitely an explosion. Idiot is going to the roof of a hotel in Kiev? No shot. Isn't this the fucking Kabul guy? Isn't this this is the British guy who was in Kabul, right?
Look at that view, guys. Look at that view. Stunning, isn't it? There's not a single soul down in the streets apart from soldiers. Crazy, isn't it? Look at this. Nothing here. I can't see the chats. How come? That's weird. How do you activate the chat again? Let's see. Oh, here we are. Chat is. So on the 19th floor. Let's say. Shh.
He's actually mentally ill and people from home think he's a weirdo.
VIP suite.
I mean, he is a fucking weirdo. He's like actively going into conflict zones on his own without a press pass or anything like that, trying to get fucking killed.
Alternate targets
Anyway,
to be
here.
struck should they be unable to make it to their primary targets. Within minutes, the crews are in the air, and those already on alert patrols immediately set their course for the positive control turnaround point, a pre-planned point near Russia where the air crews will automatically turn around unless they...
For the record, this is the reason why NATO does not go to war directly with Russia, and Russia does not go to war directly with NATO.
They receive an order to strike. At missile sites across the American Midwest, the giant concrete shutters that protect the buried missiles inside their launch facilities are automatically rolled back, and the security forces personnel tasked with defending those sites go on full alert. Their orders are to defend the silos until every missile has been launched, after which they are to escort surviving missile crews out and back to a rendezvous point well away from the missile farm. For these sites will be a priority target for incoming Russian missiles. Inside underground bunkers, missile operators rehearse launch procedures, each man responsible for a group of missiles. The entire system only requires 2 out of 4 of the operators to authenticate a launch order, just in case 2 of the men get cold feet about launching a nuclear Armageddon and refuse their orders. Deep in the Arctic, Pacific, and Atlantic Ocean, the U.S.'s
Starlink
extremely
service is now
low-frequency
active in Ukraine.
communication
More
system
terminals
flashes
en
a
route.
nuclear alert to America's ballistic missile submarine fleet. Each sub carries 24 Trident missiles, and each missile carries up to 8 independently targetable warheads with a yield of 475 kilotons. America's fleet of hunter-killer attack submarines have for weeks been stalking and eliminating Russia's aging ballistic missile submarines, and the survivors are bottled up near the Russian shore where they can be protected with shore-based firepower and anti-submarine patrols. Now, America's attack submarines set course for Russia's coast, and their mission is to eliminate Russia's surviving nuke boats, though it will cost America's submarine fleet dearly, as Russia's Air Force and Surface Navy fiercely defend their surviving ballistic missile subs. At 0209 hours, the American president is told that the American recon assets have positive confirmation of a nuclear detonation in Berlin. The Russians have fired an older single-warhead ICBM, yet with a yield.
This video sucks too. It just sucks.
It has been quiet for quite some time, and then every so often that silence is pierced by some sounds of fighting or war, whether it's gunfire or thuds in the distance.